Hello everyone, today I will review a book collection. However, I will post each book in a separate video. The Repossible collection consists of 10 books total, and I will be doing book 3 for this video. This video review will have 3 parts covering books 3 through 5. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Thank you. The 3 books in this section are called Ask, Dare, and Create by Bradley Charbonneau, published in 2020. Author and personal development leader Bradley Charbonneau hated his comfortable life until one precise moment rebooted his entire approach to living. Now he's here to share how we can reclaim that spark no matter where we are in our journey. The first book, called Ask, aims to encourage people to ask those questions. He states that to become used to asking them, we must be in the mindset to ask them in the first place. To start, we must become curious ourselves and want to seek out the answer rather than never caring to know. We should be open-minded, be willing to learn, and ask questions. He suggests that we should have talking sessions that encourage people to ask us questions, or give people the ability to come to you and ask questions. He says it's not to say that we know everything, but there are some things that you may know that others don't. This also helps with asking questions because the more comfortable you are with answering them, the more you will be willing to ask. He mentions that sometimes it may become awkward to ask or answer a question because of the fear of not knowing the answer. It is essential to ask those questions regardless because it will get you a solution most of the time, as well as get you comfortable about asking those awkward questions. This goes hand in hand with the next thing he suggests. He mentions that when we solve and answer other people's questions, we can ask better questions ourselves. Asking questions can be difficult because they may be perceived as defeating or vulnerable. The reason is that we are admitting to someone that we do not know the answer to our problems and we need help. This is okay because we do not have all the answers, and we will always need someone else's help to get through life. It is always better to ask questions than to hold back because we are too prideful to do so. What if you had to complete a task but were unsure of what to do within that task? Once you have completed it, you realize that you've made a mistake that everyone is now talking about. Which one is more embarrassing, that scenario or asking questions to prevent mistakes from occurring? Afterward, we are now confronted about why we did not ask any questions. And now we're stuck with the I don't know why or I thought I could figure it out on my own situation. In the end, we should remove this mindset of I got this and stick with the ask attitude he proposed. He mentions not being afraid to raise your hand as we once used to when we were children in large groups that may require us to. He says that raising our hand to ask a question is like breaking through an invisible barrier that is trapping everyone else who is too afraid to ask those questions in the room. When we finally break through and get called upon, all eyes are on us, waiting for our questions to be heard. He uses a blade of grass as an analogy for this. We can stay at the same grass level as everyone else, or rise above to be seen, answered, or cut off. Regardless of what happened as the outcome, the goal was to break through the invisible barrier that was holding everyone else back. We all know what happens when we answer a question. We can either get the response we want or get the response we don't like. It is as simple as that. But we should not be afraid of receiving either one of those answers. We should not altogether avoid asking the questions just because we may know what the outcome could be. We can always tell ourselves that we know what the person will say. Yes, it's sometimes true we do. We know that it would either be a positive or negative response, but we do not know what they will say until we ask. Speaking of being afraid, he mentions that sometimes we encounter people who may try to downgrade our intelligence since we do not know the question. He cites these people that may say, "Oh, you did not know that?" or something else along those lines. The key here is to remain humble and say, "No, I do not know the answer to this question. Do you know the answer? And if so, what is it?" Sometimes it is hard to remain humble in these moments, but it is important not to respond in a way where we won't get the answer at all. Furthermore, we want to prevent ourselves from being the person who says this every time someone comes to us and asks questions. Eventually, we will wonder why no one wants to come to us with their problems, which will lead to mistakes arising. He says that educating ourselves on the topic that we are looking for answers about will make it easier for us. He mentions that we can also find the answers by teaching others to learn more about the subject. He encourages us to try to learn a thing or two about the topic, start teaching it, and expand our minds to new areas on that subject. Next, he discusses that we should not go about anything alone. We need to go ahead and ask those questions we have. Like I stated before, we do not want to wait until those mistakes are made to ask questions, because then other questions will be asked at that point. He mentions a couple of excuses we usually put in our heads to make us avoid asking entirely. The things that we put in our head are sometimes something like this: I got this. They're probably busy. I did ask, but they didn't listen. I don't know who to ask, or I don't know what to ask about. We should not let these excuses prevent us from asking questions anyway. Let's look at these excuses I've stated. When we say we got this, we often don't have it and end up making small mistakes that could have been prevented if asked. They're probably busy. It's just us making an excuse not to confront them and let them know that we need help or are unsure what to do next. I did ask, but they didn't listen. How was the question presented? And when was it given? Did we ask at the wrong time? And why do we believe they did not listen? These questions should be asked and answered before we move on and avoid asking that person again. The next one is, I don't know who to ask. Well, it doesn't matter. Ask anyone. They may lead us to someone who can answer the question. Lastly, I don't know what to ask. Well, in this case, think about the problem, write it down, then figure out what you need to know or find out to complete the task that you were assigned. Once you have written this down, form a question out of it and present it to someone who may have the answer. Remember, you don't have to go at it alone. Find the help you need to resolve the problem before further mistakes are made. The last chapter wants us to understand that we must keep asking questions and don't stop. Make it a habit to ask them, so we are more comfortable asking them in the first place. Additionally, we can learn how to ask better questions in the process. Like anything else we do, we must problem solve when we ask those questions. For example, when we ask a question and did not get an answer we were looking for, we start to problem solve. The next time we ask a question, we're going to think to ourselves about what happened the last time and ask it in a way that they will be able to give us the exact answer we were looking for. The more we ask questions, the more precise we'll be able to make them to get an answer, accurately and precisely. Now it's our turn to take what we've learned and apply it to our lives. So the next time you ask a question, think about the who, what, when, where, and how. Thank you for listening to this book review. Be sure to check out the next book in this collection that I will be reviewing. I will have the links in the description below at the end of this video. Have a great day and remain educated to educate others. Until next time.